Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a company that I found very interesting and could be a disruptor in the very near future. It's called Finstack. And I want to demystify it in a way that even a recent graduate or someone completely new to finance can understand what Finstack does. Because finance companies often describe themselves using words such as compliance, incorporation, payroll, cap tables, reconciliation, that's so hard, nexus, financial reporting, virtual CFO, and a lot more. And sometimes, after reading all of those words, the person understands less than they did before opening the website. So, today, let us simplify everything. Let us begin with a story. Imagine that you and your friend create a useful software application. People begin using it, some customers are willing to pay. You decide that this should become a real business. You now want to start a company in the United States. At first, it sounds simple. Choosing a company name, register it, open a bank account, start collecting money. But the moment the company becomes real, several questions appear. What type of company should it be? An LLC? An C corporation? Which state should it be formed in? What is an EIN? Who receives official government notices? How will the company open a bank account? Who owns the shares? Where will the ownership records be maintained? Who records the money coming in and going out? Who pays employees? Who calculates payroll taxes? Who files federal and state tax returns? What happens when the company hires someone in another state? What happens when it sells to customers across the country? Who tracks all these deadlines? And how does the founder know whether the company is actually making money or not? This is the world Finstack is entering. In the simplest possible language, we can put it as Finstack is trying to become the operating system behind the financial and compliance side of US business. When I say operating system, think about the operating system on your laptop. Your MacBook may contain several applications, but the operating system helps those applications work with one connected environment. Finstack is trying to do something similar for business operations. It is bringing incorporation, accounting, taxes, compliance, financial reporting, ownership records, documents, and expert support into one connected platform. Yes, one connected platform. The company describes its offering as a combination in this platform of technology and qualified experts for businesses operating in the US. Its public website covers incorporation, bookkeeping, financial dashboards, tax payroll, compliance, cap table management, virtual CFO support, and related legal operations. Now, before discussing each product, let us understand the larger problem. You can also look into the website as I attached in the link below so that you can understand what I'm exactly trying to say when I say the problem, the solution, the use cases, everything. You just look into the website once. I kept it in the below link. So then we can talk more detail into that. So if you've gone through the website, you see the problem most businesses face is businesses grow in fragments. Most businesses do not build their finance operations according to one perfect plan. Exactly, they do not have one perfect plan. It's usually in silos or it's usually in segregated aspects, and most businesses do not build their financing operations according to one perfect plan. They usually have plan B and plan C, and there is no guarantee that all of them would really work out. So they solve one urgent problem at a time. When they need a company, they contact an incorporation provider. When transactions increase, they find a bookkeeper. When they hire employees, they subscribe to a payroll platform. When tax season arrives, they contact a tax professional. When they enter another state, somebody else creates a compliance spreadsheet. When investors appear, they purchase a cap table tool. When leadership needs a report, somebody creates another spreadsheet altogether. Eventually, the company has several providers, several contracts, several dashboards, several invoices, several email threads, several versions of the truth, and one increasingly worried founder asking, can somebody please tell me whether everything is under control? This is not necessarily because any individual provider is bad. The problem is fragmentation. The bookkeeper may understand the transactions but not the payroll setup. Let me tell you again, the bookkeeper may understand the transactions but not the payroll setup. The payroll provider may process salaries but not understand the company's entire tax position. The tax advisor may receive information only at the end of the year. The compliance calendar may not know that an employee has moved to another state. The cap table may sit separately from the accounting records. The founder becomes the person connecting everything, and the founder is supposed to be building the product. serving customers, hiring people, and growing revenue and expanding into new markets. That is a poor use of founder time. It's like me asking the founder of a company to start posting LinkedIn content every day. Yes, if he is like a huge MNC CEO, I would ask him to do that. But I wouldn't really waste a founder's time in doing the monotonous tasks when one software can easily do that. Because I'm very sure if FinStack's pricing is definitely going to be more affordable than any founder's time in the world. So, when it's this reasonable, FinStack's central proposition is that these activities should recommend and become more connected. The company is not merely presenting one product, it is building a portfolio around the life cycle of US businesses. I would explain that life cycle through five stages here: start, run, understand, protect, and scale. Let us take one at a time. Stage 1: start the business with Finstart. The first product is Finstart. It is designated for founders who want to form a business in the US. But forming a company is more than submitting one form. The founder may need to think about the type of entity, the type of incorporation, name availability, a registered agent, an employer identification number, commonly called as EIN, if you know it, bank account support, corporate documents, ownership certificates, stock ledgers, and additional requirements that may apply to an international founder. Finstack publicly states that on the website, as you could see, that Finstart supports LLC and C corporation formation, including entity structure, incorporation, EIN assistance, registered agent appointment, banking support, corporate documents, and certain additional fillings. It also lists assistance relating to overseas direct investment compliance for relevant Indian businesses. Let us simplify one of these terms. An entity is the legal form of the business. An EIN is similar to an identification number for the business when dealing with the US tax system. A registered agent is a designated person like you and me or organization that receives official legal and government communication for the company. Whereas corporate documents explain how the company is governed, who owns it, and how important decisions are made. Think of Finstart as helping the founder build the legal and administrative foundation of the company. The value is not simply we submitted the incorporation form. The more valuable question is, did we establish the company in a way that supports what the founders intends to do next? Does the founder want to raise investment? Does the company have international shareholders? Will it employ people? Will it operate in multiple states? Will it remain small, or is it being designed for significant growth? These questions influence what a sensible setup may look like. Finstart is therefore the entry door into the Finstack ecosystem. Finstart is therefore, as I'm telling you, the first door that lets you enter into the Finstack ecosystem. But incorporation is only day one. You start the business must now begin operating. The stage two: record the financial life of the business with FinBooks. Once the company begins spending and earning money, it creates transactions. A customer pays an invoice. The business purchases software. It pays a supplier. It reimburses an employee. It receives money through a bank account. It pays rent. It runs payroll. It pays taxes and lot more things. All of this activity must be recorded correctly, because if it gets wrong in the auditing, we would be in trouble. The company would be in trouble. So that is where FinBooks enters. FinBooks is Finstack's bookkeeping and accounting solution. Bookkeeping is the process of maintaining an organized record of financial activity. A simple way to understand bookkeeping, let's say, imagine that your business is writing a diary. Every time money enters or leaves, the diary records what happened, when did it happen, how much money was involved, which category does it belong to. This reminds me of my grandmother asking questions to my grandfather every time he comes back from the rice business he has. So, is there evidence such as an invoice, bill, receipt, or bank record? But back in the day, when my grandfather was having this business of rice, selling rice and distribution, retail, and wholesale, we didn't have Finstack. My grandfather used to do it all on his mind. But now, we are a lot too busy. So we have to have priorities where the founder channelizes his energy onto greater objectives. And Fin describes FinBooks as supporting bookkeeping, invoices, bill payments, financial reports, integrations, and monthly financial closure. Its public page, as you can see in the website as attached below, positions the service around frequently updated books and expert review. Now, Why does this matter? Because almost everything else depends on accurate books. Tax filings depends on financial records, investor reports depend on financial records, cash flow analysis depends again on financial records. Business decisions depend on financial records too. You cannot confidently calculate profit using incomplete transactions. Again, you will fall into auditing trouble. You cannot prepare reliable taxes from disorganized books. You cannot present clean information to investors if expenses, income, and liabilities are unclear. Bookkeeping may not sound glamorous, but neither does a foundation under a skyscraper. You usually notice it only when it is weak. FinBooks is meant to create that financial foundation. In stage 3, let's move, understand the numbers with Finsights. Having accurate financial information and records is important, but founders do not usually need to enter their records. They need understanding. This is where Finsights enters. It gives the insights. Finsights is the financial visibility and reporting layer. Let us use a simple example here. Suppose the bookkeeping system tells you that the company spends $1 lakh, $100,000. That is data. Finsight should help answer why did spending increase? Which department spent the most? How does actual spending compare with the budget? How much cash remains? How long can the business continue at the current spending rate? Which customers have not paid yet? So that we can follow up with them. What may happen to cash over the next few months? Finstack's publicly presents in the website that Finsights around real-time dashboards, cash forecasting, budget versus actual analysis, receivables and payables, runway, startup metrics, and investor reporting. This is the difference between accounting and strategic finance. Accounting tells us what happened. To learn more about accounting, you can watch some videos on Udemy or do a course on edX or Coursera or LinkedIn Learning. And once you do, let's say, Introduction to Accounting course and financial reporting and financial analytics on Coursera by Wharton, which I remember learning. If you do those, you will be able to use this software even better, I personally believe. Or probably in few years, Finstack might launch few courses supporting you for each of these products so you can be more accustomed with what to expect and how to use and how to navigate through. But as of now, I suggest you do at least a free YouTube course on accounting. Just look into BCom or BBA level accounting syllabus and just go through it. So you just don't need to remember it because AI can tell you how to navigate on the step by step later on, or the customer support team of Finstack. But initially, just to make some sense out of it, you can just learn on YouTube or Coursera, as I told you, or LinkedIn Learning. That's even better. It's more affordable if you have a LinkedIn Premium. So financial insights helps explain why it happened. Strategic finance helps leadership decide what to do next. For example, can we afford to hire 5 more people? Should we delay expansion? Which customers should the collections team contact? Are we spending too much on one function? It usually happens in most companies. Do we need more funding? Is our runway improving or declining? Should we invest more in successful product? A dashboard does not make these decisions, but it can give leadership better information before making those decisions. That distinction matters. That's the reason I told you this is going to be a disruptive innovation in the years to come, in the very near future, probably. So, technology should not replace judgment. Technology should make judgment better informed. And in the stage 4, this is pretty interesting. It manages taxes with FinTax. Now we arrive at one of the most misunderstood areas of businesses, tax. Many people speak about business tax as though it were one annual form. In reality, a business may need to think about different categories and jurisdictions. There may be federal requirements, state requirements, country or city requirements. If you go to in a country like US or Canada where it has different states, and in Canada you have like every province has a different tax regulations like Ontario and Vancouver and Montreal and stuff. So income taxes, sales taxes, payroll taxes, franchise taxes, property related filings, information reporting, requirements connected to foreign ownership. The correct obligations depend on the company, its structure, its activities, its locations, and other facts. Fintax is designated to manage the tax and filing side of the environment. What? Manage the tax and filing side of the environment. Finstack's public tax offering includes income tax returns, state returns, foreign ownership or subsidiary reporting, estimated tax reviews, sales tax analysis and registrations, local registrations, business licenses, property tax filings, payroll related filings and R&D tax rate support. The important idea is that tax should not become a once a year emergency. Tax readiness begins with accurate books. It continues through proper documentation. It requires knowing which filings may apply. It involves monitoring deadlines and it may require action throughout the year. For a founder like you, the value is not merely somebody submitted the tax form. The stronger value proposition is we understand what needs attention. The information is organized, responsibilities are visible, and the business is not discovering everything at the last minute. So, nobody should build an entire tax strategy from a video on LinkedIn, like I'm posting. But every founder should understand that tax is part of operating the business, not an annual surprise delivered by email. So, in the stage 5, we come to pretty close to the end of this, where pay and support the team with FinHire. A business eventually becomes hiring. It begins hiring. At first, the founder may think payroll means transferring salaries into bank accounts. Payroll is considerably more complex than that. The company may need employer registrations, employer information, tax withholding, payroll calculations, benefits, reimbursements, documents, and payroll is something every stakeholder is very concerned about. So, federal, state, and local reporting, employers, everybody cares about it. So different pay schedules are there, changes in salaries, new hires, departures, onboarding and offboarding, government holidays, paid and unpaid leaves, employees working from different locations. This is where FinHire enters. Finstack publicly positions in the website attached below where you can just go through that and even book a demo with the sales team. It says that FinHire, employer registrations, employee onboarding, payroll processing, benefits, reimbursements, and compliance across states. A simple way to think about payroll is the company sees one salary payment. Behind that payment may be a chain of calculations, deductions, filings, records, registrations, and deadlines. This becomes more complex when people work in different states. A company can be incorporated in one state, have leadership in another, and employ team members in several more. This is why payroll and compliance cannot be treated as completely different topics. Hiring changes the business. A new employee is not only a person on the team, they may also create financial and administrative responsibilities or new problems in unforeseen circumstances. So, FinHire is intended to connect the people side of the business with payroll and compliance execution. In the stage 6, understand who owns what with Finstock. Now imagine that your company has three founders, then an investor joins, then employees receive stock options, then another funding round occurs. When, who owns what percentage of the company? How many shares exist? Which shares have been issued? What options have been promised? What happened to everyone's ownership after the investment? This information is commonly organized in capitalization table, usually called a cap table, is essentially the ownership map of the company. This is what Finstock is designed to help manage. Finstack describes Finstock as supporting cap table management like stock certificates, 409A valuations, and 83 bracket B filling related processes. Let us simplify two of those terms. A 409A valuation is used to determine the fair market value of a private company's common stock for certain equity compensation purposes. And 83B, on the other hand, election can be relevant in situations involving restricted equity and it highly time sensitive. Anyone facing such a decision should seek qualified tax and legal guidance and can also talk to the customer support team of Finstack just for some advice. The broader support is simple. As the company grows, ownership becomes more complicated and ownership mistakes can become extremely sensitive. A founder may forget an informal promise made to an early employee. Records may not be updated correctly. Different documents may show different numbers. A potential investor may ask questions that the team cannot answer quickly. Finstock is intended to keep the equity story more organized. And here we have stage 7. Identify obligations with FinComply may be the easiest Finstack product to understand an analogy. Imagine that your business is driving through the USA. Every state, county, and city may have different rules, registrations, taxes, licenses, and filing requirements. The problem is not only remembering deadlines, The first problem is knowing which rules may apply to your business. That is where FinComply enters. Finstack says that FinComply as an AI-enabled multi-state compliance platform recovering federal, state, county, and city requirements. Because this product is totally built for US, Indian, American, and European businesses, mainly having USA in the mind, as per my research. So the company says the product can analyze information about a business, help identify potential obligations, and create a prioritized checklist containing deadlines, forms, and filing guidance. Its public page refers to coverage across 50 states, more than 19,000 cities, and more than 50,000 tax and filing compliances. These are FinStack's own published coverage claims, and this can change probably in a few months with more and more. Let us simplify the product through an example. Imagine that your company is incorporated in Delaware, has employees in Texas and California, sells to customers in other states like Alabama and stuff, Ohio. So operates from a physical location in one city, has a remote team. Now ask, where might the company need to register? Which payroll rules may apply? Are there business licenses? Are there sales tax questions? Are there annual reports? Are there state or local filings? Which deadlines are approaching? As I told you, this is AI enabled and all this will be updated with the help of AI. A spreadsheet can track obligations that somebody has already identified, but a compliance system should also help ask whether a new business event has created a new obligation. That is more interesting part of a FinComply. A calendar reminds you about a known deadline. A compliance radar attempts to identify what should be on the calendar. FinComply offers both self-service guidance and access to Finstack's expert team. According to its public product page on the website, for founders and finance leaders like vice president of finance or let's say private equity hedge fund owner, the intended value is visibility. What applies, what is due, what is complete, what needs attention, who is handling it. A deadline should not become visible only after it has passed. So in FinAI, an assistant across the platform. So FinAI is present throughout most of the Finstack products. Finstack also presents FinAI as an co-pilot, as an AI co-pilot for accounting and tax compliance. The public should know that. Let me tell you with an example. Cash flow analysis, income statement analysis, and document request status. The basic idea is that instead of manually searching through reports, calendars, and documents, the user can ask a question. For example, which compliance items are overdue? What changed in cash flow? What documents are still required? What does the income statement show? This sounds simple, but the managerial value depends on what exists underneath the assistant. An AI system is useful only when the underlying information is accurate, current, connected, and appropriately reviewed. An articulate answer based on poor data remains a poor answer. So, the real value of FinAI is not simply that it can produce sentences. The value would come from understanding the context of the business and making relevant information easier to access. FinAI helping partners serve more clients. Finstack is not only targeting individual businesses, it also has a partner proposition called FinAI is designed for CPA firms and other industry partners that want to offer a wider range of services to their clients. For example, let's take a smaller accounting firm, may be excellent at bookkeeping and tax, but may not have deep internal capacity across payroll, cap tables, multi-state compliance, or technology development. So here, FinAlly allows partners to access Finstack's broader suite of products, track projects through a partner portal, and expand their services without building every capability internally. Finstack publicly positions FinAlly around supporting CPA firms and partners with compliance, payroll, tax, cap table services, project visibility, automated workflows, and expert consultation. From a business model perspective, this is important. Finstack can grow in two ways. First, it can serve businesses directly. Second, it can support advisors who already have relationships with businesses. That creates a partner led distribution model. Rather than acquiring every customer individually, Finstack can become infrastructure behind other professional firms. This is similar to providing the kitchen, systems, and specialist capabilities, while the partner continues owning the client relationship. How Finstack's business model works, let me tell you. Now let us put the complete model together. As you understood all the products, Finstack appears to combine four business models. Four business model ideas. One, a modular product portfolio. Customers do not necessarily need to purchase everything immediately. A founder may begin with Finstart. Later, the business may require FinBooks and FinTax. When employees join, FinHire becomes relevant. Until then, you don't really need a Fin if you don't have the requirement for having employees. So, as the business expands, FinComply becomes more important. When investors or employees equity appear, FinStock becomes relevant. As leadership needs better financial visibility, FinSights and FinCFO support become more valuable. This is called a land and expand model. The company begins with one urgent need and has the opportunity to support more needs over time. If you're having more needs as a company, that means you're expanding and having more responsibilities to serve. That's a good sign, right? Any management consultant would tell you that. So, second, recurring revenue. Incorporation may be one-time transaction, but bookkeeping, payroll, tax, compliance, monitoring, reporting, and CFO support can continue every month or every year. This creates recurring customer relationships. The business does not end when the incorporation certificate is delivered. That may actually be when the longer relationship begins. And three, technology plus expertise. Finstack does not position itself as a software alone. Its website emphasizes clearly that access to qualified experts alongside dashboards, automation, web and mobile access, and AI supported visibility. This hybrid model attempts to sit between two extremes. At one extreme, traditional professional services may involve manual processes, limited transparency, and communication through email. At the other extreme, self service softwares may be efficient but may leave the founder unsupported when interaction or let's say professional judgment is required. So Finstack's intended position here is use technology for visibility, workflow, access, automation, and consistency. Use experts for review, interpretation, and complex situations. And four, one connected customer lifecycle. This may be the most important part of the business model. Finstack does not need to claim that every module is individually deeper than every specialist product in the market. Its strongest potential advantage is orchestration. The company can support the customer across multiple stages: incorporation, books, tax, payroll, compliance, equity, financial insight, growth. The strategic benefit is continuity. The same business context can move across multiple workflows. The founder may avoid explaining the company from the beginning to a new provider every time another requirement appears. So let us finish simplifying every product into one line so you understand. As a quick recap, Finstack helps create the US business, and FinBooks records and organizes its financial activity, whereas FinSights helps leadership understand its financial performance. FinTax supports tax planning, registrations, and filings. FinHire helps manage payroll and related workforce processes, and FinStock organizes ownership and equity information. FinComply helps identify and track business obligations. FinAI makes information easier to ask and understand as it is throughout the platform. FinAlly helps professional partners offer more services to their clients. Together, all these products support one larger journey. Start the business, run it properly, understand what is happening, stay prepared, scale with greater confidence. The biggest lesson is this: a company is not only its product, brand, employees, and customers. Behind every visible business is an invisible infrastructure of books, taxes, payroll, fillings, documents, ownership, records, control, and decisions. When the infrastructure is weak, growth creates confusion, guys. When it is strong, growth becomes easier to manage. Incorporation creates the legal entity, customers create revenue, people create the organization. But financial visibility, compliance discipline, and operational accountability that help create a business that can endure. That is the problem Finstack is trying to solve. And in the near future, it might bring up with more products or more use cases and more solutions. And let's stay tuned to that. And that is why the company is worth understanding. Thank you for watching. Be School Erudite, Bhanu Sivakrishna. I would be interested to know which part of running a US business do you think founders underestimate the most? Bookkeeping, tax, payroll, compliance, or cap table management, or simply getting one reliable view of everything. Let's connect over LinkedIn and Instagram channel as you have the links below. I will continue this series by examining these topics individually, beginning with what really happens after US company is incorporated.